HelloFresh takes the guesswork and the extra hassle out of planning and preparing delicious meals for dinner. America's #1 meal kit, HelloFresh gives you over 40 recipes to choose from each week. And then your farm-fresh, pre-portioned seasonal ingredients arrive at your doorstep with simple instructions to help you feel like the master chef of your kitchen. And did you know that HelloFresh is cheaper than grocery shopping and 25% less expensive than takeout? HelloFresh has been an awesome addition to our household's dinner routine. We all get involved and cook together, following the pictured step-by-step instructions. It's a fun quality time and the meals are delicious. Give it a try and see for yourself. Go to HelloFresh.com/50havingitall and use code 50havingitall for 50% off plus free shipping. Again, to get 50% off plus free shipping, go to HelloFresh.com/50havingitall and use code 50havingitall.
Hello, it is Ryan, and we could all use an extra bright spot in our day, couldn't we? Just to make up for things like sitting in traffic, doing the dishes, counting your steps, all the mundane stuff. That is why I'm such a big fan of Chumba Casino. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere with daily bonuses. That should brighten your day a little. Actually, a lot. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com. That's ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
Welcome to the Having It All podcast, the show about what it takes to live an abundant, loving life. My name is Matthew Bivens, and each week I'm helping you get out of your head so that you can truly have it all. Let's do it. Hello, everybody out there. My name is Matthew Bivens, and this is the Having It All podcast, and I am super stoked to be here today, and I'm happy and grateful to you for listening. And today's topic is a little bit different. It's a little different than what I've normally done on this show, in that today I'm talking about finances. And I don't know if finance is talked about a lot in other shows or other things like this, but personal finance and your financial health and really your ability to have peace with your finances is a huge part of living and experiencing an abundant, loving life. And so I want to dive into it today because it was not something that I was very aware of the impact it had on me for many years, many years. And I've talked about finances and my history and my relationship towards finance a couple times in this show, and so I'm excited to really dig into it in this episode. And I will start things off with a little bit of background on me and my relationship to finances. So, let's go back to my parents' divorce. I was 10 years old. My parents got divorced, and I remember very vividly instances where we lived with my mom. So anyway, there's three of us, myself and my two sisters, and we lived with my mom. My dad moved out of the house, and my dad was paying child support. And so there was instances where a child support payment was late or didn't come through, or I don't really know what was going on as a little kid. I didn't understand the exact details. All I remember was my mom saying, we don't have money for all the groceries this month, or we don't have money for the heat this month, or and then actually kind of sending me to go and ask my dad for the check. Like, hey, Dad, Mom says that we didn't get yada yada yada. Can you give us a check? Like, I remember not having to do that, but I remember doing that when I was a little kid, choosing to do that. And when I think back to my relationship to finances and the way that scarcity has played into my my paradigm around finances, I think back to those. That's like where I go. I go back 20 years to being a kid, asking my dad for a check, and then having to tell my mom whatever it was my dad told me, and I just go back to that time. And so that's really where I think a lot of this stuff started. Fast forward into my working years when I was, got my first job when I was 16 years old. I worked at a local farmer's market, and I made decent money for a 16-year-old. Like this place, they paid me I think $7.50 an hour, and we got little bonuses all the time, and I blew every single penny I made. I have never until recently been able to save. Like saving was not something that I did. If I had money, I was going to spend that shit, and I spent it on material stuff mostly. In this case, when I was 16, 17, that's when I started drinking. So much of my money went into alcohol. Money went into music. Money went into just all sorts of stuff. But that's when I started to get my paycheck, and I would just get the paycheck in on every other Friday, and it would be spent almost as quickly as I got it. And I continued and flowed that way through college. I took out student loans without knowing and understanding anything about loans and interest and repayment and all of that stuff. And as a 30-year-old man who's paying off his student loan right now, I realized, wow, I spent so much of my student loan money on stuff. My girlfriend and I at the time, we would go to Disney World probably 2-3 times a year. We would go to the outlet malls and just buy a bunch of stuff. So I had this relationship that like money was it was there for me to spend, I guess. And I never wanted to look at my bank account. I never wanted to check how much money I had. I never wanted to look at my credit score because I knew that I wasn't being responsible. I knew that I had immaturity when it came to my finances. And so what that grew into was this aversion to anything around finance. So, here I am spending every dime that I make. I'm not looking at my numbers. I'm not understanding where my money is going. I'm actually avoiding looking at different things. And then when I started to get kind of overwhelmed, that's where I really started to dig myself into a hole. So overwhelmed for me meant that I would have bills that I just didn't feel like paying or didn't want to deal with. I had a couple of injuries playing sports in college that sent me to the hospital, and then I'd get those hospital bills, and I'd be like, I guess, mom and dad are paying for that, or I guess my insurance is paying for that. I didn't know how to file insurance claims, do any of that stuff. So the bills kind of racked up, and then creditors started calling me about the bills, and I just was assuming that someone else was going to take care of them.
HelloFresh takes the guesswork and the extra hassle out of planning and preparing delicious meals for dinner. America's #1 meal kit, HelloFresh gives you over 40 recipes to choose from each week. And then your farm-fresh, pre-portioned seasonal ingredients arrive at your doorstep with simple instructions to help you feel like the master chef of your kitchen. And did you know that HelloFresh is cheaper than grocery shopping and 25% less expensive than takeout? HelloFresh has been an awesome addition to our household's dinner routine. We all get involved and cook together, following the pictured step-by-step instructions. It's a fun quality time, and the meals are delicious. Give it a try and see for yourself. Go to HelloFresh.com/50havingitall and use code 50havingitall for 50% off plus free shipping. Again, to get 50% off plus free shipping, go to HelloFresh.com/50havingitall and use code 50havingitall.
Hello, it is Ryan, and we could all use an extra bright spot in our day, couldn't we? Just to make up for things like sitting in traffic, doing the dishes, counting your steps, all the mundane stuff. That is why I'm such a big fan of Chumba Casino. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere with daily bonuses. That should brighten your day a little. Actually, a lot. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com. That's ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
And then one day I remember being at my job after college and looking at, what was I looking at? I was probably looking at my bank account, realizing I had zero money, none. I had overdraft on something, and I was notorious for overdrafting. And my bank account was at zero, and my credit was shit because of all of the bills that I just did not look at. And I hit my sort of rock bottom sitting outside on the curb on the phone as I'm listening to a voicemail of another creditor and being like, damn, this does not feel great. And that was in my early 20s, and I continued that relationship to finance up until recently. And what really shifted for me recently were a number of things. One, having a partner who wanted to create some financial peace in her life, and who also believed that her relationship to finance played a huge part in her overall health and well-being. That was a huge thing. I was around other people who were looking at their finances, who were in worse states than I was, but who were now starting to look at their finances and the relationship to them, and all of that, and work on it. And I was given some tools and a simple framework to use to help shift things. And so I think those things kind of came together and helped to flip on a switch in my mind that helped me understand that finance and your relationship towards money, your relationship towards how you generate money, how you attract money, and what you do with your money, your maturity with that, is insanely huge and impactful to your overall health. Like I live in the United States of America. I've lived here my entire life, and so money and this idea of the American dream and all of that stuff and finances, like that's a huge part of the national conversation. And so it's very important for me, at least, to have my own, I guess, really have some solid footing in all of that. And you know what? Honestly, for me, it's been a lot of growing up. It's been a lot of growing up and just taking responsibility for that part of my life, for maturing and really growing into adulthood. And like that's one of the roles of being an adult, is managing finances. And I no longer want to be an amateur at it. I no longer want to, and then, this is kind of how I felt a couple of years ago. I'm constantly evaluating and improving my relationship to money. But I no longer wanted to be afraid of phone calls that I didn't recognize because they might be someone talking about money, whether I owed them or what the state of my finances was or whatever. I no longer wanted to feel scarce, feel like I didn't have enough, feel like it goes out faster than it comes in, feel jealous of people who had more money than me. I no longer wanted to feel those types of things, and so I started working on it. Now, the biggest tool for me, the biggest single tool, has been Dave Ramsey's Financial Peace. And I know that a number of you out there have heard of Dave Ramsey, have heard of Financial Peace, and have probably done it. But I know there's also a whole lot of folks who haven't. And so this is going to be great because you are now being introduced to the tool that I've used to really turn around my financial state, but also my relationship to finances, to the point where right now I am super psyched to be on track to knocking out my debts. And I'm insanely motivated to generate and to attract and to put that money towards debts, which is not how I used to operate. So I'm gonna jump into what for the a little bit of financial peace right now, and I'm gonna put links to Dave Ramsey's website and all that stuff on the show notes for this episode. You can find the show notes for the episode on firesidenetwork.com. And I'm gonna pull this up real quick. I'm gonna make sure I don't get these 7 baby steps wrong. I want to make sure I get them right because they're important. And Sarah and I are currently working through the 7 baby steps right now. So let me pull it up on my phone real quick. Okay. So really the core of Dave Ramsey's Financial Peace are the 7 baby steps. And 7 baby steps is a framework to achieving financial peace. And so essentially you work through baby step 1 to baby step 7. By the time you get to 7, you are in a very powerful place in terms of your finances, and your relationship to your finances has most likely shifted over the course of those that time. So let me go through this baby steps right now. The first baby step is to set up a $1,000. Okay, let me back up real quick. I'm just going to read it. Baby step number 1, $1,000 to start an emergency fund. So it's basically having $1,000 in cash on hand in your home that you use for emergencies. So you need to define for yourself what an emergency is. Like being super hungry and wanting to order a pizza is not an emergency. Potentially wrecking your car could be an emergency. However, it's very smart to have a car fund set up that you're depositing money to every month so that when things happen with your car, because they will, you are prepared. So I wouldn't even say a car is an emergency. But, whatever it is, however you define an emergency, you have $1,000 on hand, liquid, that you can access at any time for these emergencies. That's baby step number 1. Baby step number 2 is paying off all of your debts using the debt snowball. So what the debt snowball is it's pretty simple. You take all of your debts. Let's say you have 10 different debts. You start with the lowest amount, put that on the top of your list, all the way down to your highest amount, and you begin by paying as much money as you can every month into the lowest debt. Once that debt is complete, you then take the money that you were putting into the lowest debt and you roll that into the second lowest debt, and you put as much money as you can into the second lowest debt until that's paid off. Once that's paid off, you take all of that money and you put it into the third lowest debt. And in the other debts, like the other, like I said, you have 10, the other 9, you're paying minimums. So, you're putting a ton of cash into the debt that you're focusing on. Once it's paid off, you roll it over and you put all that money into the next one. And you do that until you get all the way down to 0 debts. And that's where Sarah and I are right now. We are in the baby step number 2, and we've gone from, I think, 8 debts down to 3. And so we should have all of our debts complete. What is it? We're right now in February. I would say by this time next year, we'll have all of our debts eliminated, including student loans and $10,000+ in credit cards and all sorts of all that stuff. That's baby step number 2. Baby step number 3 is saving up 3 to 6 months of expenses, living expenses in your savings. So it's essentially having, the amount of money you need to live off of for 6 months put aside. And that one is great, especially if you are have an irregular income like myself. What that means is I don't get a paycheck every month. Like I don't get a steady paycheck every other week, because I make my money doing different. I have my own business, so that I generate money that way. But I don't work for somebody, and they don't cut me a paycheck every 2 weeks. So making sure that you have that money set aside, 3 to 6 months living expenses, is important. It's important if you do have a job, if you are working for someone, because if you get laid off, you need to have some money to live off of while you're searching for your next gig. And for me, if I have a slow month or a slow quarter, I need to have some padding, some cushion, so that I don't go into a state of financial emergency when things kind of ebb and flow. That's baby step number 3. Baby step 4 is to invest into a Roth IRA or a 401k, and kind of put money away into those things. That's something that I still am pretty green at. I don't really understand fully Roth IRAs and 401ks. And so, it's putting the money away for retirement is essentially baby step number 4. That's an area that, I look forward to growing in myself. Baby step number 5 is to create a college fund for your kids and to have that fully funded. That one's pretty straightforward. For Sarah and I, with baby Maya, it's fascinating that we have conversations about a 5-month-old going to college. But we do, and we're trying to be responsible, responsible parents, and It's our intention to help Maya attract scholarships and grants, and really help to empower her, and to show her that she can create the money that she needs for college. And we have plans to help her out, but we also don't want to pay for everything for her, and we don't want to have her rely on student loans. So it's going to be really important that we sort of teach her the ropes in attracting, in getting those scholarships and those grants and all that great stuff. Baby step number 6 is to pay off your house. So it's that's your mortgage and your home payment. If you are owning a home, then when you get to baby step number 6, your goal is to pay that off. And baby step number 7, finally, you have achieved this place of financial peace. And at baby step 7, you are building wealth and you are giving. You are giving.
It is Ryan here, and I have a question for you. What do you do when you win? Like, are you a fist pumper, a woohooer, a hand clapper, a high fiver? I kind of like the high five, but if you want to hone in on those winning moves, check out Chumba Casino. At ChumbaCasino.com, choose from hundreds of social casino-style games for your chance to redeem serious cash prizes. There are new game releases weekly, plus free daily bonuses. So don't wait. Start having the most fun ever at ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
Why don't more infant formula companies use organic, grass-fed whole milk instead of skim? Why don't more infant formula companies use the latest breast milk science? Why don't more infant formula companies run their own clinical trials? Why don't more infant formula companies use more of the proteins found in breast milk? Why don't more infant formula companies have their own factories instead of outsourcing their manufacturing? We wondered the same thing. So we made ByHeart, a better formula for formula. Learn more at byheart.com.
So those are the 7 baby steps laid out by Dave Ramsey in Financial Peace. And having that framework for Sarah and I has been huge. I'm sure I came across other frameworks and other steps and other systems in the past, but the combination of a super simple and easy to understand system like this, combined with being in a place of receptiveness for really maturing in my relationship and healing that relationship towards finance, I think created like the perfect storm for me. And finances are huge. Like you can't avoid it. You might want to avoid it, you might try to avoid it, but no matter what, it always comes back to you. And so if you're like me, you can also it's also possible to improve your relationship to finance, to really enjoy looking at your numbers and knowing your numbers. I mean, if you are anything like I was, then you probably don't believe me right now when I say that you can enjoy looking at your bank account. You can enjoy pulling out a spreadsheet and crunching your numbers. You can enjoy budgeting. It's possible. It's possible because I've freaking done it, and I avoided everything. I used to I wouldn't even open mail. I just knew that it was a bill. I knew that it was people wanting my money and people telling me I didn't have enough money and people telling me that I hadn't given them the money that I was owed to them. Like, I just knew it, and I avoided it. I avoided so much stuff. And to go from that place of extreme scarcity, I never felt like I had enough, which is so ironic because I just spent my ass off. It's like you would think that if somebody felt like they didn't have enough, they would hoard it. Like they would just save it all. I would take every little penny that I found on the floor and put it in a jar and put that jar in my room under my bed and never touch it. That was not me. I was spending everything. But I still had this relationship of scarcity towards finances. And I still avoided everything. So to go from that place, to go from the place of where I was to now being excited about sitting down and budgeting with Sarah, because every time we budget, it feels like we've made money. It makes no freaking sense, but every time we sit down and look at our numbers, it feels like we've made money because we realize, oh my gosh, this expense is gone, or we can move money from here to here, and wow, look what we just uncovered, or whatever it is. Like, that's such an amazing feeling. It feels so empowering. And, it feels responsible. And that's just, for me, like, that's huge, huge when it comes to my finances, to feel responsible, to feel like I'm owning it, and really to see how abundant I am and how abundant Sarah and I are. To see that week to week is crazy. And what's happened, this is kind of like The Secret type of stuff, like that law of attraction, like focusing on putting intentional energy on our finances, looking at our numbers, being aware of where what our debts are, what our assets are, really understanding what we're bringing in each month, and doing a zero-based budget has kind of opened up these channels of attracting money. Like, we attract money left and right now. It's ridiculous. It comes in the form of people buying us things. It comes in the form of people giving us cash. It comes in the form of people gifting us gift cards. I mean, it's insane. It's really insane. And I laugh when I talk about it being like The Secret, that law of attraction, but I can't explain it any other way. So, I mentioned zero-based budgeting, and I won't get into it too much, but it's basically this idea that, let's say in a given month, that you're going to bring in $5,000. So at February 1st, you pull out your budget, your spreadsheet, and you say, okay, I'm going to make $5,000 this month. Where am I going to allocate this money? And you go ahead and you spend it on paper. So you say, $1,500 goes to rent, and $1,000 goes to food, and $300 goes to insurance, and $150 goes to gas and oil for my car, whatever it is. You spend all of that on paper first until you get down to zero, until where every single penny that you're going to generate that month, where it's going. And part of your spending will definitely be like a personal fund. You say, okay, Matthew, I'm going to give myself $250 this month. Boom. And so you take $250 and on paper, on your spreadsheet, and you put it into your personal spending. And you put, what I mean? It's like you take that money and you spend it on paper first. That's been a huge part of the success and the growth for Sarah and I. And it has contributed to feeling abundant and being abundant, truly understanding that we are abundant, that being able to attract finance and wealth is no different than being able to attract friends, or being able to like, it's just a mindset. It really is. And I've realized that the past 2 years of being insanely intentional about shifting my relationship towards my finances has helped me to understand that it really is a relationship. It is a relationship. It's a way of thinking and feeling about this thing called money and income. So again, the reason why it's so important with having it all is that having it all is about living and experiencing life with abundance, with love. And if we think back to the having it all framework, A.L.L, abundant, loving life, we can break down life into the 6 F's: faith, family, friends, fitness, finance, and fun. That 5th F is finance. So do you have a loving relationship toward your finances? And are you experiencing abundance in your finances? Because that, to me, is what having it all is. Having it all is experiencing abundance and love in each 6 of those F's. So that's why having financial peace, having financial clarity, being mature with your finances, taking responsibility for your finances, that's why that stuff is so important. Because you can't have it all otherwise. So I'm going to put links to Dave Ramsey's Financial Peace and anything else that I mentioned in this episode. I'll put a link to it into the show notes. Show notes can be found over at firesidenetwork.com. Just search for this episode on firesidenetwork.com, and you can see all the notes. That's where the show lives. The show lives at firesidenetwork.com. It's really cool being a part of a network. There's some other great shows in the network as well, and you can check them out when you go to that website. And I want to say thank you for the recent iTunes reviews. If you get anything from this episode, if you've got anything from this show, one way to give back is to leave a review. The reason why reviews are so important is that it really helps to give confidence to folks when they stumble across this show, that it's worthwhile, because there are so many freaking podcasts out there for people to choose from. And so the reviews help people to say, oh, you know what? There's a lot of folks who seem to be behind this show. Let me check it out. So if you've gotten anything, if you've emailed me, then I know that you've gotten something from the show, and I would super appreciate a review on iTunes. I'm grateful to you for listening. I'm grateful to you for hanging out with me, and really for being on your journey towards having it all, because you being on your journey impacts me. The more people who are facing their fears, who are choosing love, who are exposing their vulnerabilities, the more people who are doing that, the more that we are all impacted, the world's impacted. Because when you shift in those powerful and healing, loving ways, you touch other people and you inspire other people. And there are ripples, powerful, powerful ripples from all that. So I'm very grateful to you for listening to the show, and for, just doing what you do, applying the different things. You are awesome. And with that, my name is Matthew Bivens, and here is to you having it all.
Hey guys, it is Ryan. I'm not sure if you know this about me, but I'm a bit of a fun fanatic when I can. I like to work, but I like fun too. It's a thing. And now the truth is out there. I can tell you about my favorite place to have fun. Chumba Casino. They have hundreds of social casino style games to choose from, with new games released each week. You can play for free anytime, anywhere. And each day brings a new chance to collect daily bonuses. So join me in the fun. Sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.